Here we are. It's finally time to drill and assemble. As you see, we're going to start with our top that we laid out just a little while ago. And the first thing I'm going to do is center punch all the holes that we made so my drill bit doesn't wander around on me at all when we start drilling. So now I'm going to go ahead and use my transfer punch that I got at Harbor Freight, but you could very well just use a nail, a good heavy one. It makes a nice dent and allows the drill bit to bite. Matter of fact, we'll go ahead and do one of them with the nail. Notice I'm using my mallet, not a hard hammer. Okay, so you see the nail works real good. The transfer punch doesn't go quite as deep. Now I'm ready to start drilling. And for this, I'm going to use my drill guide. Now, not all the holes have to be perfectly straight in, but the drill guide also gives me the benefit of having a drill stop, so I can set my depth, and I won't go all the way through, because press board, well, it's heavy and it can be hard. It's easy to ruin. So we only want to go far enough in to where our screw is going to bite in, get deep enough, and I want the last couple of threads on the screw to bite in where I haven't already drilled. So go ahead and mount it in my cordless, pull it up, and it's about as easy as that. Now, for these, I'm using an 1/8 inch drill bit. And I'm going to do that for our U-brackets and our pivot brackets. For the saw holes, if you'll recall, I had holes lined up in my saw base. For these, I'm going to use a 3/16 because I'm going to use 3/16 screws, flatheads, and we're going to drill all the way through. So I'm going to go ahead and finish these up, and then we'll take care of these. So I'm done drilling all my bracket holes. Now I want to drill my saw mount holes. I've changed out to a 3/16 inch brad point bit, which means there's a real sharp brad right in the middle of it, and it's going to cut a nice clean hole all the way through. I've reset my depth stop, so it allows the drill bit to go further down, and I want to reset that to make sure it doesn't go too far down, because as you see, my legs are underneath this thing. Now what else I've done is I've placed 2 pieces of scrap on either edge, so when I break through, I know I'll break through and I'm not going to go down into the boards underneath it. So get that brad point down into those holes that we tapped earlier. Reset the depth just a little bit more because I kind of did it by eye. I didn't really measure. And there we broke through. And there we go. We're all drilled out. Now I can actually mount some hardware on here. So we got our top drilled out. Now we just have to do our legs and our cross braces. So for this operation, I've darkened up the holes a little bit. Might be able to see in there. So I'll know where to drill, and you can see it a little bit easier on camera. I've loaded a 1/4 inch brad point bit into my cordless drill, and I'm just going to drill straight through. since these aren't real thick pieces and it's not hypercritical that it be straight through, I'm not going to worry about using the drill guide this time. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my center. Now I'll do it for the vertical supports, and then we'll get on with the legs. Oh, I nearly forgot on these pieces. You have to remember that one of these is going to be slotted. One side is going to be slotted. And to do that, I'm just going to use my miter box. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the workpiece vertically with the edge I want slotted. Line up the edge of the hole in the miter box so I can just see it with it all clamped down, and then I'm just going to cut straight down to the edge of the hole, and that piece will fall out and I'll have my 1/4 inch slot. I don't think you need to watch me do that, but that's how I'm going to do it. The time's come to drill the legs. Now we have to pay attention to a couple of things. Part of it is the layout. We have to transfer our marks for our holes from the flat edge that we measured out before to the edge we're going to drill. And we have to pay attention to the end grain because we're going to be drilling down through the edge. Now on this one, the end grain runs pretty much perpendicular to the edge we're going to be drilling. So each of these growth rings being fairly hard, but since we're perpendicular, we're going to be able to go straight through them pretty easily. On this piece, however, our growth rings go from almost perpendicular to almost parallel with the edge we're drilling. Now, like I said, these growth rings are pretty hard. So if I was to start over here, my drill bit would start wandering. So I want to start on this edge where they're perpendicular, so it gives me some body before holding the drill bit in place before I start hitting these parallel ones. Now the layout portion of our program is pretty simple. You see we have these lines we drew earlier, and we mark which ones are going to have holes in them. Well, I'm going to take those lines, I'm going to use my rafter square to line up the lines on the face, and just draw a line straight across the edge. I'm not going to worry about drilling dead center on these or having to mark out dead center on these because I've created a jig. Now, a jig helps you do the same job over and over and over again. In this case, drilling center on a piece of 2x4. So what I've done with my jig is I've taken my drill guide, I've mounted it to 2 pieces of 2x4 that are spaced exactly 1 2x4 apart with a couple of stop brackets. Now my drilling jig is centered on the wood. It's nice and stable, so I'm not going to be rocking all over the place. And once I insert the drill, I'll be able to drill straight on down. So I'll start with this hole right here. It's lined up on center, and here we go. There's one down. Now I'm going to repeat this process for each hole I got to drill on all the legs, and then we'll be ready for some assembly.